Hello and welcome to the United Film Podcast. My name is Greg Randolph. I'm a writer and director from Boston, Massachusetts. This podcast is an opportunity for me to tell you about filmmakers currently active in the UK from around the world. Today I have one of my closest friends from London Film School on the podcast, Zhanbo Yu. Zhanbo and I worked together extensively at London Film School, which included several term exercises and independent short films. Recently, Zhanbo has been active as a director of photography on several vertical dramas. He is also a skilled steadicam operator and gaffer. We discuss his life growing up in Dalian, China, going to high school in Canada, and pursuing film here in London. Zhanbo has a world of experience, and we discuss our perspectives making films here. Yu Zhanbo, welcome to the United Filmmaker Podcast. How are you?
Hello, Greg. Good. I'm nervous already. Oh my God, I'm nervous already. Yes, let's start again. You just asked me that question. Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
It's really nice to have you here, man. It's been a long time. We've been talking about doing the podcast.
No, I know you've been doing this for a while, and then I obviously, being your friend from school, I always want to be here. But
yeah, man.
Obviously schedule was a problem, but I'm glad, what season is this now?
3.
Yeah, I'm glad this is the beginning of season 3. I'm glad I can make it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about, man. It's so funny to look back. We met as LFS happened, right? We got accepted to the program, and I think we initially in the early Zoom calls, because we were still you were still in China.
Cold.
I remember you had a Bruce Lee poster behind you and a Bowie poster behind you.
Yeah.
Hung out in Shanghai somewhere. I think you had been working. I think you were working in a bar. I think a bar, some cool lounge. It looked like a really cool.
Oh, I can't believe you remember that.
And I remember you were doing that, but then COVID hit, and I think everyone was just at home, and a lot of the Chinese students were, it's like everyone was struggling to get to UK. It took a long time to. So that was really cool. We were talking from the bat. We're going to do this. Let's go. It really has been a super fun time working with you on stuff, and it's just the beginning. We're stepping out into the industry now. We're done with school, and it's really not to be corny, but I feel like there's a lot of great work that we'll be able to do very soon. So I think this is a cool little a lot of these are profiles, right? Where we're just kind of trying to understand where in your case, cinematography, and as a director of photography, where you're coming from and what you are looking to do. You know what I mean? And kind of just seeing what's up. You know what I mean? And understanding that. So that's a little context, right? How we know each other.
Yeah.
LFS was super fun. A lot of these podcasts are based around all this stuff. Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit about what got you into filmmaking. I want to talk a little bit about, you've got a really cool past. You were born in China, in Dalian. You went to high school. I just want to give a brief overview. You went to high school in Canada, in Vancouver.
Yes.
And then you studied undergrad here in the UK and have gotten your master's at LFS here in the UK. So and in between, you've gone back to China for periods of time. So you've got a super cool worldview. That's the only way I can describe it. So let's talk about the beginnings and what got you into movie making. What was it early on for you? Because I don't know if we ever had this exact chat. Maybe
no, I don't.
Over a whiskey or something like that at some point or another. But I'd love to just hear about it, and then from there we'll just kick it into gear and see where the conversation goes.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for the little introduction. Then I think compared to a lot of other filmmakers who had this kind of filmmaking dream from an early young age, for example, I remember Denis Villeneuve talking about in his interviews how he's drawing storyboards of Dune when he was a baby.
Oh shit!
And then I just feel like those people are very talented, and it's almost it's destined they're gonna be in filmmaking, which is not my case at all. I didn't really seriously think about filmmaking until high school. And then I think in high school, just kind of it's almost like it just meant to happen. We have this class that's a bit of outside the curriculum. It's a bit of a out of out of your own interest. If you want to take it, you can take it, and it's called digital media. Nice. And then through that class, I get to shoot videos, and then that's how I got a bit into what's the behind the scenes of it. Like, we see movies, you seen TV shows, and then even broadcasting, like play stages, shows on TV and stuff like that. And then just through that class, it got me a bit more interested in what's happening behind the scene.
Yeah, cool.
And then through there, obviously, we made a lot of narrative, a lot of short films while we were in high school.
Nice.
I mean, it's kind of cringy to look at it now.
And again, talk a little bit about, I'm curious, because you talk a little bit about China and what life was like growing up in China and that decision to move to Canada. I'm curious because that's unique. I think about people listening from back in the States, like a friend growing up there. Like, that's such an interesting trajectory and so different than what a lot of people are used to. So I think that's, I knowing you, I think that's an important part of, like, not necessarily like, oh, that's what made me want to be a filmmaker or be a cinematographer, but it's like important in regards to perspective.
Yeah, I think when you say that, it sounds like it's such a strange thing for a kid in China who go to North America or Europe to school. Obviously, it's an insane thing to do, really, for a little kid to go by himself. But being Chinese, I think it's fair to say there is a decent number of people that do that. A lot of parents, it was almost a trend to try to send their kids, if they are able to afford it, for two reasons mostly. Send the kids to the West, really, to study, whether it's a young age or later on in universities. I think two reasons. First of all, obviously, if the parents can afford it, it's nice for the kids to see the world a little bit, to really experience it.
That makes sense.
And then obviously, I have to say the second reason is trying to escape the Chinese educational system. A little bit, because the huge population they have in China, there's only so many universities that have spots open. So who gets to go, who doesn't get to go, and then we have the equivalent of SAT in China as well. It just, the whole thing is very competitive and very extreme. And then my parents then made a decision with me. I think they're very open-minded people. And then obviously I was being a little kid, and I'm kind of very excited about the whole idea of leaving school and then going to Canada, going to a completely different school. So it's almost, I had no fear. And then the reason is not because how brave I am, it's because I don't really know what's going to happen.
That's cool.
And then it kind of just flowed with time, and then just, now you're going to go to do this. And then certainly I wasn't achieving great success academically while I was in China. That's junior high school, really. And then went to Canada. That's a whole new journey. It's almost, sometimes I feel like, now I'm obviously much older. That's like more than 10 years ago. I just feel like from that point, it's almost a new chapter of my life. It's a new personality being forged.
Sure.
It's very different. Like sometimes, obviously everyone fantasizes. I would fantasize if there are parallel universe. I really wonder what would I been in my late 20s if I didn't go, if I stayed in China. Good or bad, I don't know. It's got to be different. I think
it shapes you, though. I think that's the trick. It completely...
It shapes a great deal. And then I think, for example, can I just say, because some of my parents' friends later on in the years, they asked me for suggestions. For example, they also want to send their kids to the West to study, which is what I was doing. And then they asked me a question, say, at what age is good for my kid to go? Like that kind of related to this forging a new personality or character, is that, like, for example, I think like when you like 14, 13, 15, something like that, I don't know if that's a good idea to send your kid abroad so early. And then the only reason why I say that is because you feel like you're living in this culture which is very different than where you're going to go to, and then you shape your personality or your value of the world and how the society run in this culture. And then by the age of 13, 14, 15, you kind of have a basic idea of it, but it's not complete yet. It's not concrete yet. And all of a sudden now you're being dropped into a completely new environment where people might behave differently or their value might be different.
Totally.
And then feel like for a young kid, you might have this confusion, is that how do you behave what is right, what is wrong, how do I view this country, how do I view this society.
I get it.
And I think at that time, I gotta admit that I suffer a little bit with my own identity, because like, who am I? What value should I prioritize? You know, you kind of get what I'm saying. But obviously, later on, you kind of realize can be used as advantage. Like, you get to know the Chinese side, me being Chinese, but being in the West for so long, you kind of so used to this society as well. And then I think it's almost like you have the view for both sides, and in a way you have the connection from the both sides.
Yeah, totally. I get it. Like you get the beautiful kind of cultural aspects of China and the East, and you really start to understand that's where you're from and where you're born, and you start to understand some of the West's ideology and thoughts as well. And I think the idea is that, like, as much as there can be the differences, and you've told me some interesting stories, it actually reminds me, and maybe I'll prompt you with it in just a second, but like some of the some of the things that make us different, but then some of the things that make us the same as well. And again, if you're talking about like getting that worldview and then that energy of like having no fear is like such a good way of going into it, because it's just like, kind of the pluses and minuses of both, I think, is like an interesting thing, and especially at that age. You know, and you told me maybe you can tell me a little, because I know that it was tricky in regards to like assimilating with a lot of the other students.
Yeah, that was you can say it was a terrible time at one point.
And you played basketball as well, I think, right? And so it's interesting. Like, you were kind of like acclimatizing in some ways, like getting into sports, having fun in those aspects of it. I think developing a love for film. And trying to like get along with like some people that maybe were mistreating you or seeing you as different. So I'm wondering, maybe you could tell me a little bit about that, because I think, again, that's like it's weird to say it's a special experience, but it's an experience that is part of what shapes a person when they move abroad at such a young age.
For sure. I think it's definitely part of my identity now, in a sense. Yeah, high school, you can say it can be tricky. It's not hard to imagine a kid from a different culture that don't really speak the language. I certainly didn't. And then, you mentioned basketball. Thank God there's sports, because sports has no language barriers. I think I don't know, like, for this whole going to a different country, experience different culture, what does that do for me now? I just feel like I'm able to stay relatively unbiased, and then they kind of realize, especially with the social, with what's been going on in the world right now, like every time I see something, it's so nice. I'll be able to see how the West is reacting to it, and then how China is reacting to it, and then sometimes on the same thing you get very different opinion, and then it's kind of make you realize a lot of these things are not really that black and white. It all depends on what perspective you look into, and then that forms your opinion. It's like the situation really dictate a lot of things. I'm glad I get two voices, you know, and then I get to make my own decision, and then I get to stay unbiased. I get to kind of stay in a higher level, looking down at the things.
Totally, man. I think when we have conversations, you know, over dinner or whatever, whenever we meet up, me, you, Julie, and Alice, whatever, it's cool. We've done New Year's. We did New Year's up in Edinburgh. We did New Year's in Brighton, which was super fun. You showed us Brighton, because I know Brighton is a special place in your heart. Yeah. You know, just a place to go to unwind a little bit, and I really enjoyed that. Want to go back. But I think like it's kind of cool because it's certainly that perspective thing, and then bringing that to cinematography. I think those are overlapping things for sure. And I've always noticed in our conversations, that was my point, is that like you're asking questions as opposed to saying, oh, listen, this and that, and this is how I feel, and kind of like it's more inquisitive. And I think that in being inquisitive, at least early on when you're having conversations, you should shape and form your opinions and have strong opinions. But whenever we chat, you know, me coming from the US, you coming, I guess, from China and abroad, you know what I mean? Like you just have your own special perspective on things. And so when we're chatting, say even like Charlie Kirk, we were chatting about a little bit, you know, to bring up, you know, something like overtly political. But I think it's cool to like talk a little bit about things like this, even though we're meant to be talking more about film. But like this idea that like, you know, two people from the U.S. might have a completely different conversation than me and you. Yeah. You know, someone from the U.S. living in the U.K. and someone from China who's lived in Canada and the U.K. having that conversation. That it's a completely different type of dialogue sometimes. You know, it can still be rooted in a lot of the same things, but we have different perspectives that would shape. And I'm not saying it's like necessarily like one way or the other in regards to how you feel about that specific situation, but it's more like, especially you look at the States, right? And you look at kind of just all of the different things and all of the kind of like, it's not like turmoil, but like just the news cycle that is prevalent, say, in the US. It's interesting to kind of like have the ability to be a little bit outside of it, I guess you'd say, in a way, while still having like a strong opinion about like maybe what's going on. And I know this is very loose and kind of vague.
I think it's just me. Just being from the outside is that when you say outside, that's kind of almost like a key word for me. A lot of times when I look at things, look at people, I feel like I'm a bit mixed. Like I don't but being a mix, you're saying we have more perspective, right? But you also argue being mixed up in this culture melting pot and stuff like that. I feel like you don't truly belong in any particular group. Like you're not you're not
totally allied to the one cause.
You're not because you have familiarities with one group. Also, there are things about that group or that culture you don't know because I didn't grow up in Canada, and I miss a lot of years in China. Sometimes you feel like you're not really rooted in anything, but I guess in a way that kind of almost put you in an outsider perspective.
For sure.
And then I think again that leads me to kind of stay unbiased, have a more bigger picture opinion on things. Like I'm staying away, I'm looking at it, I was like there's no right or wrong, there's no different opinions. And then that's culturally, I think being away so early, so young, for so long, I think that's one thing it does to me.
Totally. It's I think that's kind of the cool thing about recording a conversation like this with people that are like, I guess you call it expats, people living outside of their countries, and the opinions we have a little bit. And it's just like, but I think our opinions can still be super valuable, you know what I mean? So I guess it's kind of that thing when we do a podcast, like kind of encouraging myself as well, just like to think about that. Because I think that's where I want the podcast to go even a little bit. I know maybe we're kind of going outside of just like the profile, but it's just something I'm trying to push a little bit, is like using this platform of talking about emerging filmmakers to kind of even go further and talk about, because that's often like we'll have generally we'll just chill and just have a good time, but sometimes we have good conversations about politics and things like that, and I think it's kind of enriching for me often after we have like a conversation about some of this stuff, just to have that perspective. So yeah, but that's a little sidebar. Okay. So let's talk. We've talked a little bit about Canada, and some of the tricky things with that. I'd love to talk a little bit about going to the UK.
Well, I was in Canada for high school. Obviously, digital media, that class triggered my interest in filmmaking.
Nice.
And then again, just like being quite young, 17, 18, I wasn't very goal-orientated. Obviously, my parents inevitably asked the question, what do you want to do in college? Like, what do you want to study? And then really, like, I think about it, it's kind of funny because it was so not serious of an answer. I just didn't really think about it, but I feel like there was a need. I remember that moment. I think it's outside my house. My dad asked me, what do you want to do? And then I said, well, again, just kind of the digital media class type of thing. It's just like, I really wonder about the behind the scene. Like, we love the shows. Everyone go see it. My dad is a movie fan as well. We've seen movies. And then I was like, I wonder how they make them. And I kind of want to dive deeper into that. And then that's how I kind of decided. You see how random that is? It's not very like, I so want to be a filmmaker. No. This is the only thing I want to do. I didn't really have that. I knew what I don't want to do. Like, I cannot do like physics. I cannot do chemistry, mathematics.
I was similar in a lot of ways.
So I decided to study film. And then obviously going to a good college is certainly not a requirement, but you can tell like a lot of parents, especially my parents, obviously has that hope. You know, we invest a lot in you. Hopefully you can get yourself into a good college, get a good degree. So that's obviously a factor. I remember looking down on the world university ranking list and then see which one I can actually get to.
Yeah.
And then going to the UK, it has a bit of a personal reason, I think. I enjoy traveling around. I feel like I never wanted to stay in one place for too long. I mean, I stay in London for so long now. But,
yeah, how long have you been in London for now?
London. Plus, yeah, because going to college, that's 3 years.
Yeah.
And then 3 years, London Film School takes 3 as well.
Nice.
And then after graduation, I think we graduated 2 years ago, something like that. So what, it's like 8 years, 7-8 years now.
Yeah.
I think I live here longer than Vancouver already.
Damn.
But at the time, I just wanted to try some new places. I have friends that was in Europe, and then I kind of feel like, yeah, I just want to leave Canada. My parents actually recommended against it, because that's another big change. That and then little did I know, I just feel like UK obviously has a different culture. The society, it's again changing. It's different than Vancouver as well. So I kind of done another change. But obviously, I love London. I had a good time at King's College. I'm very happy I got successfully accepted, and then, but obviously, London King's College we study film studies, but it's a very theory-based school.
Cool.
I wouldn't say I done a great job in college because obviously, academic was not my focus at the time, and then. There was no practical filmmaking at all.
Sure.
I think if you were inspired to be a film critic or you more of a writer, I think those courses are better suited for those people. I didn't pick up a camera the whole 3 years because we never had any activities such as that. So 3 years in London, and then it kind of just flew by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I'd done a better job at college, because I think London. No, I don't mean to say anything bad about King's College London. Their film study program is supposed to be top of the world.
Sure.
And they really do have a lot of connections. The school has this gigantic library we used to go. I think it certainly gave me the opportunity to see cinema a bit more. Especially, I had no prior trainings, and especially when I was younger, I didn't really have an interest or talent in it. Like I think that's 3 years at King's College London introduced me to the world of cinema a little bit more, and then that kind of dictate. Obviously, after I graduated, I went back to China to work. And then because I'd done film studies, I was able to, I think it trained my eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
That's more important than anything else. We have so many textbooks. I wish I kept them. There's so many film knowledge in this. I don't remember anymore. But, excuse me, but it trained my eyes.
Yeah.
That you know what good film is.
Yeah.
You know what it look like. You know how, when you see an image, you know whether it's good or bad. You have your own standard. You have your own taste. I think that 3 years in college, we've seen so many movies. It really trained my eyes. And then when I go to China eventually after graduation to work.
Can I ask you, was there a movie in particular you remember from that time period that really was like, this is really good, I really like this?
Let me think, I think, like, for example, like growing up in China, we see a lot of Hong Kong films.
Yeah.
Cops, bad guys, these type of films, Infernal Affairs, wonderful, wonderful movie. Yeah. But I was seeing it as a fan. I didn't understand the history behind Hong Kong cinema. And then at school, we get to learn it, we get to dig a little deeper.
Got it.
We've seen this particular genre is actually created in Hong Kong as well. And then in the 80s, in the 70s, I forgot the name of these movies, and they made similar movies. And then you can see the aesthetics is similar. You can see the style while being still very raw, but the idea is there. And then how this continues into the 90s, in the 2000s. Obviously, Infernal Affairs is like the greatest.
That's a big one for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then I get to see a lot of European cinema, which I was not familiar with before. And then I remember there's Italian.
We were talking about like I'm just Italian documentary. I'll make sure to pick up. But I think we were talking about Cold War or Ida. I think Ida
Cold War.
When we were talking, because we've done multiple films together. We did a documentary in Term 3, and we did a independent film, The Right Film, which I acted in as well, which was a wild and crazy ride. But I remember you were looking at some of those references, so it makes sense that you were kind of connecting those types of dots.
I just feel like obviously I think personally, I believe I could have used my college time a bit more. But I feel like everyone will say the same. I think, it trains my eyes, opened the world of cinema to me.
Trainspotting.
Yeah, my all-time favorite, mate.
There it is.
The best film ever.
That's what I was waiting for. Yeah, the Trainspotting.
Trainspotting.
That's your favorite movie?
That is absolutely my favorite movie. I really like There's nothing about the movie I don't like.
Okay, so tell me like something about the movie that really you think makes it so good.
I think this is like what Martin Scorsese said, right? It's like the movie, like what do we remember about a movie? Like I don't necessarily remember or always go back to a certain plot.
Yeah,
it's the character. Like I love the characters that film has, and then it's Mark Renton that stays with me in my head. It's not a necessary plot or whatever. It's always the character we take away. Yeah. It's always what that character does, what he thinks, and I just found obviously that character to be fascinating.
Yeah,
I love the story. I love the way they shot it.
It's gritty, kind of gritty. I guess
it cannot be more gritty than that. I guess it's very raw. They got a raw energy to it.
Yeah, Danny Boyle has something that, and also like I guess it's a UK film. There's that feeling of authenticity.
Yeah, you can tell obviously it's being a smaller budget film.
Sure,
I think those films don't really. I mean, obviously you can see them online. You don't see them in cinemas anymore. It's all big budget films nowadays.
And really cool camera angles and things like that, right? Storytelling stuff and character-driven stuff, I guess. Is because I'm trying to get a sense of like what draws you know what I mean, like what gets you going, because I know also you're like a big Inarritu fan and
are you saying Emmanuel Lubezki?
Yeah.
I just thought Lubezki is really just more about fascinating. I think this is like inspiration for me to dig into the world of cinematography a little bit more as well, but that's much later in my life.
Fair.
I think Trainspotting is really like, I just think it's such a fun movie. It just
you can watch it over and over again.
Yeah, which I did. I think the first time watching it, first of all, I didn't understand anything they say the first time I watched it anyway because the accent. So I watched it a couple of times. It's just such a fun movie. I remember the scenes, like the way they do the one he goes up the I think that might be Trainspotting too. They go up the apartments, and instead of showing him climbing up the stairs, it's a wide shot outside of the house, and you see literally numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that they go up. Obviously when he overdoses in the film, where he sinks into the carpet, I just feel like, it's so fun to make these films, you know. The
interpretive kind of feeling of it, that stuff is really cool. Where realism,
the music as well, you really feel like, I get it. Just like when I say there's nothing I don't like about a film, it's just like movies are amazing. It's just like you got images, but you got sound, you got music. It's a bunch of things combined together, and all of a sudden, a bunch of things combined together, and you let them flow in a period of time that's very controlled. And this thing itself became another thing, and then that's a movie. You know, I get to incorporate whatever I want into it. I think it's not really just any particular technical style or certain shots I really like from Trainspotting. It's really the overall picture. It's just like Trainspotting, Annie Hall as well really made me kind of feel like,
this is to Diane Keaton, man.
This is she died.
Yeah, you didn't know?
I didn't know. Why did she die?
You said Annie Hall, right?
Yeah.
Diane Keaton passed away just the other day.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Oh my god.
Crazy, right? You have to do a rewatch now. It's a classic. I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Oh, I swear to God, I didn't see it at all.
Oh, damn. Yeah. No, just the other day.
Give me the moment.
Yeah.
No. I'm just saying, Annie Hall is like my favorite love story of all time. And then kind of like Trainspotting is a fun movie I really, really loved. Annie Hall is kind of like really taught me. I remember watching that film and realized that's what director does.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, when I was so young, when you first started off, like obviously as an outsider into this world, I don't really know what the director does. Like you have the script. The script is written a certain way. Then what do you do? You know? And Annie Hall, like I remember.
What do you do here?
And Annie Hall, I remember when Diane Keaton's character, rest in peace, I really didn't know.
Yeah.
And then she was laying down on the bed, and then I think the Woody Allen character wants to have sex or whatever, and then they are trying they're going back and forth, and then it's almost like a hologram of Diane Keaton leaves her body and sits on the couch on the side and start painting, and then they have a conversation, the hologram and Woody Allen's character. I was like, that's interesting. Like that's the way they want to. How do you show a person is obviously not in it, not in the moment? There are millions of ways to show it. Maybe a close up to the face, maybe an insert of the hands doing something, and then he chooses to do, we really visualize it. I was like, that's so cool. I might not do that for my film, but it's like, this is you're making something, you're creating something, and then you get to have a piece of script, and then you get to do your own version of it. Yeah, anyhow, it's fantastic.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's one of my favorites as well. Very cool. Okay, so I've got a really good idea for the movies you like, something that undergrad kind of brought to the table for you. LFS.
Yeah.
Because LFS was tricky for us. So we're in the same cohort, 205.
Yeah.
We had a very interesting time because we were like the first ones out of COVID with like a proper cohort of like more than 30 students.
Yeah.
The rest, the cohort above us was like 5 students. So it was like we were kind of on a bit of an island in a few different ways.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop us. I think that group, if I can say anything about that group, it was a bunch of people that were very anxious to start doing movies, you know what I mean? And getting out of COVID, even if we had to. I don't think we stepped foot on campus till term 3.
No, I remember. It's like, I think term 2, we get to go to the campus a little bit more. Yeah, because I already consider us lucky. Yeah. Because the term, like couple terms above us, they went through the whole program during COVID, but at least we just caught on to the last bit of it. Like term 1, we were never. I remember going to school for the first time. I was like, "This is a ghost town. Yeah. Like, there's nobody in here." And I think term 2, maybe term 3, we didn't get to do anything. Oh, well, I'm glad we made a movie though. We made whatever whatever films we get to make in term 1. I'm glad the school managed to allow us to do it.
Yep. Basically, to describe to the audience, like basically. We did all our classes online. We rarely met in person other than do the practical exercises.
That's it. We didn't meet at all.
And so it was like very much like I didn't meet Raphael Kaplinsky, our term 1 tutor, till like term 4 or something like that. Like I didn't see him in person. Like it was crazy. So it was definitely a weird thing to be going into school, but we made it work. And I think it was a lot of great people we met during that time period, and we're still able to make some really awesome films. So, that was kind of our early experience at LFS. We did a ton of stuff together. We did, we were in separate groups for like the term 1 film, but we did a director's.
I think director challenge. I think after term 1, we're in every term. We're in the same group until like maybe 2, 3, 4 maybe.
And we did a string of movies like back in a row. I did a great documentary in term 3, Ace of Clubs. It's a film very close to my heart about a day food service in Clapham, which was very fun. 5 days.
What a lovely documentary, I have to say. I rewatched it the other day.
I know, because I want to talk, because we haven't really even talked about your work, which is amazing. You've done you've done a ton of short films. You've done a ton of commercial work. You've gaffed for big Apple TV productions and all this different stuff. And you're doing a ton of vertical drama stuff, which is a whole nother chapter of the podcast that I've wanted to cover that I have not. I've not really spoken about with anybody about this. And you've done a ton of them. And it's good because they pay. You're able to explore a lot of different things. The content is sometimes a little...
it's a bit questionable,
it can be a bit questionable. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how we do all this. I'm just trying to get the appetite going for like what we'll be talking about in a few minutes. But I think I want to finish with all the LFS stuff. So all the LFS stuff was really, really cool. We were able to work on a few films together, which maybe I'll even link in the bio of the YouTube video.
Yeah, please do. Let people see it. I love the right film.
Your website, like all that stuff. So then I think the trick is that I want to talk a little bit about your experience after LFS. Like, I want to talk a little bit about what it was like, and be honest, like in regards to like the difficulties. Like we were having a coffee just downstairs, and just talking about like, like trying to get going. We want to work on a feature film together with a production company who is like, it's just about kind of getting all the ducks in a row, and sometimes that takes some time. In the meantime, you're doing a really, really amazing grad film with Emily Kirby that is coming up imminently end of October, which you're in the middle of. So it's tough to kind of dissect and string all these things out. So I want to try and do it in an ordered way so we're not confusing people too much. So I think what we should talk about first... What should we talk about first?
I think like London Film School, I do have a few things I can say. And then I think right after graduation, obviously, I think just like everyone else, like I was in a bit of a tough time as well. London Film School, obviously 3 years. I think overall I really enjoyed it. I think it's fantastic. I think I view London Film School, I think I talked to you about this before, it's a bit of a starting school. I think if I were to define it, it's like people who have passion for filmmaking but not necessarily have experience in the filmmaking industry or doesn't even know how to make a film. But we came with ideas, and London Film School kind of accepted all these people. And then through the curriculums, you get to choose different roles, you get to touch on different aspects of filmmaking. And then at the end, I think the idea is like you get to pick what you want to do. And then I think even after school, you kind of continue to develop it.
Yeah.
But then when you're on set, when you work, you understand what different departments are doing,
which is very valuable.
Yeah, I think just choose two most important valuable things from London Film School. One is that this structure, I think, for people who don't have that many experience in filmmaking, it's a wonderful way. You get to know different departments, and then it's like you have to know what they're doing. Otherwise, in the future, if you just stick with one department, how do you collaborate? You don't even know what the other departments are doing or what they want and what they don't want. So I think that's the first thing. And second thing is that kind of related to after graduation.
Yep.
I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful for the platform London Film School provided for me, because I get to know people like you.
Yeah.
I get to know all the people who's been on your podcast. Maybe I know a lot of them, and then that's because of London Film School, the platform. Even later on, after I graduated, a lot of the jobs I get to have is because I know people, and then you can always trace down to the platform London Film School provided.
There's something about it where it's like, and it's movie making with that international base in a big city like this. It's like a three-pronged thing where it's like, because it's not just like you're just doing like you're meeting for like a meeting or something like that. When you're making a movie, like that connection is more than like a friend even. You know what I mean? Like that's like you spend hours and hours and hours with people from all over the world who are super passionate about what they want to do, and you're being like creative on top of it. It's like it's just a weird mix that really binds the school in a very nice way.
I'm very happy with the people who went to London, who go to London Film School.
Same.
Like I just say, school, to be honest, London Film School is not the most resourced school.
Sure.
It's not. They don't really provide you with some guaranteed connections and stuff like that. But I feel like almost everyone I met from school, like you said, we've done so many projects, whether it's with school or independent projects. It's like people, you can tell we want to make films. Yeah. It's like there's like, for example, me personally, like I said, in college I didn't do very well because I think we're just going through the motion. Yeah. High school is finished, now everyone go to college. Mm-hmm. But London Film School is a very, very, very conscious decision. Yeah. Like I want to learn more about the practical side of filmmaking. So I decided to come here
and have a chance of making a living. And you know what I mean? Like making it your livelihood, which is the most key.
That was obviously a bet. Like obviously it was risky. It's like film, but again, is what how lucky am I or everyone is to be able to do what they love to do. Is that oh my God, doing filmmaking has so many challenges, but so much better than having an office job 8 to 5 and making money for someone else. We get to create stuff and we get to do things. After graduation, quite tough.
And that's what we can talk about. That's a perfect segue into everything after graduation. So continue, like just bring me through it. Bring me up to present day, because you've had a cool journey, man. And I'm sure you've learned so much. We haven't worked together super recently, but that will change very soon. So we can talk about basically graduating and what you've been up to.
I think like towards the end of my London Film School years, I just already trying to think ahead because I was obviously not in college anymore. I'm like,
you're good at that.
I'm trying to think about how do I make a living. And obviously, realistically, being an HOD, being a director, I think director has got to be the toughest. Being a DP, being a production designer, being an editor, it's very. I think it's fair to say it's almost impossible to get a decent job in those roles like fresh out of college. So I was thinking maybe I should do some more specific roles, or you're always thinking if you have a skill set and then you can be hired to do it. So I tried a couple things. I think we tried steadicam, as you know.
Yeah.
Shot a bunch of steadicam stuff for graduation films, and later on that led me to do some commercials as well. And then obviously I was very passionate. I'm still very passionate about lighting. If I cannot be a DP on certain projects, can I light it? If I cannot light it, like on bigger projects, can I spark for them? just do smaller roles. So I think, thank God, in cinematography departments, there are smaller roles that is much easier for you to get hired. So you still gonna be on set, you still have the on-set experience, you still have a way to make your connections, and then obviously make some money.
Depending on the department, there is either more opportunity or less opportunity in regards to professional paid work, So that's kind of part of the interesting process of choosing your discipline and choosing maybe your secondary discipline. Is like, I think in camera and lighting, there's like a plethora of options, and then maybe directing a little bit less. So it's weird. And then, but at the same time, it's kind of like trying to figure out what your notes are,
And then in a way, it's quite tricky. It's just like, for example, like right after graduation, did a lot of steadicam, did a lot of lighting. And
Steadicam can make good money. I think it's important to talk about some honest money aspects of things too. And Steadicam can make good money.
So like if we talk about Steadicam alone, like obviously that's what I thought as well. I invested a little bit into Steadicam as well because that's such a specific skill set.
And you were training, like you trained. Remind me where you got your license and certificate from.
So for Steadicam, there are a couple ways for you to do it. You can obviously Tiffin the company. They make Steadicam as well, and then they offer a lot of classes around the world. For example, like bronze workshop, silver, gold, whatever.
Oh, cool.
And then that's one way for you to train it. And then obviously I did that.
You did one in Italy.
Because like you see, that's how committed I was in a way. It's like I really like there is, for me at least, I don't think that applies to every student from London Film School. I was quite under the pressure to make a living. Because obviously London Film School is supported by my parents, and then I don't want to do that anymore. So it's very like it's almost quite urgent for me to be sustainable living in London. So I committed a little bit into Steadicam. There's a 5 days like workshop, Steadicam workshop
with like a pretty reputable Steadicam
guy. Chris Facette. That's the guy. I actually bought a vest that was designed by him.
That's cool.
It was a wonderful experience. I actually got the chance to talk to Mr. Brown. He's the inventor of Steadicam. I get to chat with him online, and then it was a wonderful experience. But again, very specific skill set. And then you really need to take your time to train on it. And then if you are successful in this industry, Steadicam can make a very, very decent living. Even though today there are so many new technology, different kind of gimbals, I think Trinity is its own special thing because it can do more than Steadicam. But the whole gimbal type of thing is like, obviously I believe especially on smaller budget productions, it's replacing Steadicam a little bit. But again, they will never truly replace it because fundamentally these two things works a bit differently. But what I was gonna say is kind of related back to my career is you tried a couple of different things. And then it just after graduation really took my time to jobs doesn't come very often as well. There was I think last summer I was being quite depressed, just no jobs, and then don't know what my future is, and then doing a sparking role or doing a Steadicam role is not satisfying enough for me.
You want to be pretty heavily involved like that. It satisfies that part of your brain. Can I ask you a little bit about, just in regards to the sparking, we were talking a little bit about these professional sparking opportunities. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the bigger budget stuff you've worked on? Because you've worked on quite a few.
Because the thought process is, first of all, I want to get more jobs. Second of all is I would like to learn more because there's so much, like school only offers so little amount that there's so much more you can learn after. And how do you do it? And I thought about, would love to be on bigger sets. Like would love to see them. So like obviously there's no connections. I didn't come with any connections. I don't know anyone who's working on these big budget films in the UK. But obviously, thank God there's so many of them in London. London is almost like the second Hollywood. You can argue that.
For sure.
And then so what I actually did is I just prepared my own CV, I prepared my own letter, and I just send out to as many people as I possibly can. There's always a way for you to find out their email address and then phone numbers.
DPs, like you'll just hit up DPs.
I actually wrote a letter. I wrote an email to Roger Deakins, and his team actually replied.
That's crazy.
It was hilarious. It's like within an hour they replied.
Wow.
I'm just asking if there's any sparking or lighting opportunities. So mostly I was reaching out to gaffers. I think I must have wrote more than like 150 emails to different people. And then
that's what you got to do though.
I think Because I think a lot of people say, like you hear big names saying like, oh, you want to be a filmmaker, you don't have to go to film school. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. I don't disagree. But I think for people to say that is that you need to have some industry connections already.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to go to film school in that sense. If you can just go straight to set, and then you got the platform to be creative or to be guided by someone. Yeah, I guess in that way you don't really need the film school. But if you don't have any connection, nobody in my family do film.
Yeah.
And nobody in my family actually live here anyway.
Yeah.
So I think whatever I need to get, it all has to be done by myself. And then, just reach out,
Definitely.
I got people reaching out to me.
Definitely.
Like last summer when I was being depressed, someone sent me an Instagram message saying like, oh, if you have any work, let me know. I didn't really reply, but I wish I was like, mate, you're reaching out to the wrong people. I'm in your situation, But reaching out doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there people replied.
Yeah,
and then
they know who you are. They know who you are. You put your name out there.
Yeah, just like you say, the bigger budget stuff. Yeah, some being on like a gigantic Texaco commercial, and then the Apple TV series.
Can you tell me what series that was?
That was the Silo on Apple TV.
What was that like? Can you tell me just a little bit about what that was like? Just because that must have been, you must have stepped on set. Was that the first time you stepped? No, because we missed this part of your career.
Yeah,
this is about producing. Tell me about that. So. Tell me about that aspect. Was that after you graduated undergrad? That's in between.
Yeah. Let me link these two things together for you.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think after university in the UK, King's College London, because it was very theory based, and then let's say that I didn't try hard at all. I went back to China because I left China so early on. Like I'm proper adults now. I really want to work in Beijing, work in Shanghai. I'm fascinated by those two cities. Yeah. And then obviously at the end I get to live there for 3 years. Yeah, but so producing was almost the only option for me. I really wanted to be in the industry. I want to be in the filmmaking world. And then I didn't have any strong technical skills, so I can't really apply to be a DP or a camera operator. I did have the opportunity to camera trainee on some bigger budget films in China, and then that's a whole different story. So I did a little bit of that, but most of it,
you did trainee on a big Chinese film.
Yeah.
What was the name of it?
It's the director is Zhang Yimou.
Yeah.
The film is called 1 Second. It's all shot in the desert. That's my first job, really.
I remember there's some BTS, I think, of you.
Yeah, it was beautiful, man. Spending 3 months in the desert is beautiful. But I think I
Where in the desert? Where?
That's in China, in the west part of China.
That's cool.
It's fantastic. I just think the only regret I have about that period is like I knew so little about the camera side of things. If I got thrown into that environment, I knew so little to even ask questions, to even know what's happening around it. Like I'm dying. Like I wish I get opportunity now to be on that set again, because the knowledge I have now, I get to like if you're completely strange to the environment, you don't really know what to do. But at least I seen what big sets are. So that was what I took away from that experience, and then producing. Thank you to all the big production companies that hire me, because the platform and then the jobs they do. I was assistant producer, kind of EP assistant to the executive producer. Yep. So a lot of dealing with people, a lot of management, logistics side of things.
And was this for commercials? Films?
This is only for commercials.
In what city?
In Beijing and Shanghai.
Cool. So you would go back and forth?
No. I worked in one company in Beijing for a bit.
Cool.
And then obviously in that time, the goal is to be a bigger producer and then to eventually get my own clients and then produce my own things.
Damn.
So I want to move on to bigger production houses. And then in the commercial world in China, a lot of them is based in Shanghai. A lot of the new ideas, the new productions, bigger productions, fancier brands, bigger money, it's all in Shanghai. So I decided to move there.
Cool.
But throughout those 3 years, I guess I was... we're dealing with a lot of big numbers because it's all big commercials. Commercials die down a little bit nowadays as well, but back then it was still okay. And then because those experience, I was on a lot of big sets. I think it helps a little bit later on in my career when it comes to the logistics side of things, managing crew, managing equipments, dealing with the schedule, helping out from that perspective. Like it really helped me in that because it was really just a lot of logistics to do. But but 3 years after, realize I'm not meant for this role. Like I'm not, like I wouldn't say I'm very, very good at it. And also it doesn't satisfy me creatively at all. Like you say, producer is very much part of the filmmaking crew, but we all know there is a bit of difference between the producing role versus the director, the HOD, the cinematographer. I still need the creativity to make me fascinated.
I got the feeling, this is just my own interpretation, I could be completely off, that like when you were on that set in the desert, you were looking at the cinematographer and that camera and lighting crew and you were going, I want to do that. Like even though maybe you didn't have the understanding, because I kind of notice sometimes when you're on set, I almost feel like you kind of have like a persona or something like that. Like, and it seems like something like it almost like it seems, it's like, I'm not saying that like you're imitating anyone, it's your own persona, but it's really cool. And I wonder if it's like maybe a Chinese cinematographer kind of like ideology or whatever, but it's very cool. And I've only really noticed it with you. And maybe that's just a weird thing that's just like, I'm making up in my head, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Like the way, almost, it's a little bit about the way you carry yourself, but also kind of like, I don't know. It's just kind of a cool, badass kind of image of like that, like that you portray that I think is kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe what do you think?
I think being on that set in the desert, I think I didn't really understand at the time what the cinematographer was doing, but obviously, certainly, I get to observe, and then I think them being creative on set. And I remember that, and then me being a producer later on in the commercial world where I don't get to do that.
There's a difference.
I remember before going to London Film School, because this is like I said, it's a very clear decision to go back to school. I was already working, and then I was already not being supported by my parents anymore, and I decided to go to London Film School. It was like kind of a big decision, and I remember talking to myself like, if you don't try out the creative side of things in filmmaking, you will regret it. You will. So that's the reason why I decided to go. And then when it comes to on-set persona, I don't really know, man. I feel like I certainly don't try to put on an image or something like that, but whatever you perceive, I think is all because my personality. And then when it comes to cinematographer, being on set, I always feel like me being hired by the director or by the production, I really appreciate the trust that came from them. And then that trust almost is my, like, I just feel like I need to do the best I can. I need to make sure I get this movie made for the people who hire me, whether it's paid on a commercial work or it's a passion project. Still, I really value this trust because I really do believe in authorship. I think the director we're all serving the director's vision, and then I'm just there to do whatever it takes to help the director to achieve that. And then on set, again, I think the commercial experience helped me a little bit when it comes to on-set, can you say discipline? I feel like I really would love to have some kind of discipline on set. We have to behave quite professionally. We have to do things this way, we do things that way, and then we want to get things as quick as possible. Man, I think just being quite disciplined and then have a clear goal, and then on set, I believe a lot of the creativity is done in the pre-production, and then when we on set shooting the shots, obviously, I know we have sparking ideas on set. We change things around, and that always happens. There's always things that's unexpected. But obviously, ideally, the goal for me is when we on set, we look at the shot list, we have our plans, we execution. It's about very quickly, officially execute all our creative ideas we thought about before the shoot.
Yep, I'm with it. Tell me about vertical dramas.
Vertical dramas.
Tell me about what's the first thing I want to hear, because you've worked on 9 of them.
I think probably more than that.
More?
Now. Yeah.
Tell me, I want you to first tell me what a vertical drama is, because I feel like that's what I'm always trying to tell people. What's a vertical drama? What the hell is that? Tell me what a vertical drama is, and then I want to hear your experience DPing them, what it was like maybe on the first one, where you were like, what the hell is this? And what that experience has been like. Like we don't need to go, I just want to hear your view of it.
How do I describe vertical drama? Obviously, it's vertically captured and then viewed. Is made for people to watch these things on phones, so you have to shoot it vertically. I think the whole idea originated in China.
Okay.
I guess they use phones a lot more than here. I guess there's more content needed for phone viewing, and then obviously everyone's attention span got shorter and shorter by the day. So it's about 100 to 120 pages script. That's pretty much a feature film kind of length.
Sure.
But they're gonna cut it into like, for example, 60 episodes.
Yeah.
So each episode is 2 to 4 minutes long, something like that, very short. And then eventually these shows will be put on their platforms. And then, for example, first 10 episodes is for free to watch. And then from the 11th on, you either pay per episode or you pay for the subscription.
Cool.
And then that's basically what vertical drama is. And the content, obviously, by the way, the content is always a bit soap opera-like.
Sure.
It's. I remember one client.
Big drama,
It's
right?
very dramatic. It's very, all the things are quite on the surface.
Yeah.
I remember this one client, because from China, he came to London to kind of supervise on our production. And then we have a British director.
Yeah.
And then I think they have a conversation. I was the DP. I overheard this conversation. I really like how he talks about vertical drama. This client saying, vertical drama is, these characters all very stereotypical soap opera characters.
Sure.
When you see them on screen for the first time, the goal is to make the audience know exactly what this kind of guy is, what his background, what he's gonna say. If he's a bad guy, the first moment we see him, we register very clearly this is the bad guy. And then that's a good guy, and we do the same.
It's a good way to describe it.
It's almost, there's no subtlety.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the content is a bit, I don't know what to say, to be honest with you. I think it's a bit, some of the stuff is a bit questionable. I think it's quite materialistic, I think. And then
tell me about, let's forget about the content for a second. Tell me about filming and cinematography for these types of, I'm very interested because we were trained to shoot horizontally. Big, I think big, that's like what a concept, right? But here we're shooting vertically, generally with two cameras.
Yeah.
Tell me what, I'm interested in your thought process and like what that is like. Lighting it, framing it. What do you think there?
Yeah, I think it's very, like, compared to what we learn in school, it's a very different thing. Like, even though we're shooting videos, but the way we've done on these sets are very, very different. Like I mentioned, it's 120 pages script. How long does it take to shoot that for a feature film? But we're going to get it done in 7 to 10 days, which is insane. Like, you do like more than 15 pages, sometimes 20 pages of script a day. So it's very, very fast paced. And I remember the first one, I guess what's the best way to describe my experience, like the first one I ever got. And then when the production, they have done these things in China. It's like when they first came to the UK, they told me we need 2 cameras. I was like, no, I want to shoot single camera because that's how we've been trained. And then, obviously in movies, they shoot multi-cameras, but I do believe, especially on these smaller projects, one camera, I get full control of it. Like, we take our time with each framing. And then, obviously, I learned very quickly that's such a big mistake.
And that's really time oriented.
It's very time oriented. You just have to get more shots and then and then the more you do, okay, I was on it, and then at the end I got convinced we do 2 cameras. I was like, okay, let's do 2 cameras. I never done 2 camera shooting before, to be honest, on narrative work. The first one takes a long time. I think it's like which I still try to come in with the traditional film school way of shooting. Yeah, okay, we have a story. Also, I think we did the whole shot list as well. That took forever to do. But we're trying to think motivation behind this camera movement. How do we introduce a character coming into the scene for the first time? And then this dialogue, should we shoot this? Should we shoot that? But then it just takes so long. And then we couldn't get enough coverage in the time.
And you're like, if you're doing 20 scenes a day,
20
it's
pages,
like you might as well be dancing. How quickly you're moving cameras, moving lighting. It's small crews generally, but that concept, the first one I did, was madness. Just shooting so much, it was a bit overwhelming and interesting because I do think I was speaking with Rory about it, who's been directing quite a few of these. You've worked with him on a few of them.
For sure.
Rory Chambers, and he was saying it's like it is training a certain muscle. If we're looking at it in a positive light, trying to be optimistic about it, there is a training that's happening in regards to moving really quickly, and that's kind of what I'm curious and trying to make that connection for. Is what do you think the benefits has been? Because obviously you do see some benefits because you're doing them. Obviously monetarily, there are some aspects of it, but then I think there is a creative training that's happening. So I'm curious because I think that's going to tie in this conversation kind of nicely between all these vertical dramas you've been doing, and maybe we'll continue to do, although it seems the trajectory of the vertical dramas, especially shooting in the UK, might be changing.
Yeah,
as you've said.
a little bit.
But I'm curious as to the short film you're going to be making with Emily Kirby at the end of the month, albeit another super low budget project.
Yeah.
But it's going to be one camera, horizontal, and I think the idea is that like I'm sure that will have affected, hopefully positively in a lot of ways, your ability to light and think quickly and do all these different things. So I don't know if that gives you...
I think like after the first one, I was, I guess, now looking like at vertical drama standard, we were being very slow. And later on, like the more you do it, the more you realize time is like I think shooting vertical drama is actually quite fun.
Yeah,
like obviously it's very hectic, but like there's some type of fun in the hecticness.
It's I think part of it is that it's very shooting oriented, and in regards to, obviously the director always has to kind of be in charge of the performances and things like that, right? But it's a little bit of weight lifted in regards to like, oh, this needs to be a film festival, or this there's that expectation is a bit built in, right? Because there is a platform that will most likely stream it. Like you've got a client kind of on board, right? Especially you've done so many now that you've kind of built a rapport, right? Am I right with that kind of idea? Is that like, it's kind of nice. It's in some ways it's like, right, you can hang your hat on it, you can make a little bit of money, you can put food on the table, and maybe it's not this long term like decision. But again, if we're talking about emerging filmmakers, we're talking about like trying to make it happen. I think
like the more I do vertical drama, it's like now you realize like shooting vertical drama as a DP, there is a pattern to it. There are rules to it. Like how do you, like there's two people sitting in a room, like you really don't have time at all. Like the way you shoot it, you can't be too creative with it. Like, and then you realize what the clients want. Like for example, performance is obviously very important. It's coverage. Like they really want this thing to be very fast paced. They wanted to be able to have different angles for different things. And then how do you do that? Like it's almost, there is a structure to do it.
Could I ask you like a little bit of an experiment? Say it's a two vertical drama, right?
Yeah.
And they're talking about, I don't know, divorce or like whatever, some type of big deal thing.
Yeah.
A camera, like almost similar to the setup, right? We've got a camera here and we've got a camera here. Boom, those are your two setups. So imagine, would you start with dialogue and sometime if they were going to have like say a page of dialogue? Yeah. And they were sitting at this table, is that where you would start?
I think it's like working with a director as well. For example, if we were to have a scene and then we're really, really tight on time, which pretty much we always are, and then it's like you work with the director on the block. You start with the blocking. It's like you really got to find a way to find the easiest way to shoot, not only for coverage, also for lighting, because you really don't necessarily have too much time to move lighting around. You done the scene, you light for a scene, and then that has to be it. You barely get a time to make any adjustment. For example, obviously you pull the character closer to the window, hoping the window lights will light them enough, and then
use the light.
You're gonna use that. You work with what you have, and then try to find the best way. And then we watch like with Rory Chambers as well. Like we actually sat down together. We watch a lot of vertical dramas that were successful, that were recommended by the clients, and we find similarities. Like what did they do? Okay, for example, you rarely see in vertical drama talking heads moving at the same time.
Oh, really?
We want to introduce them. You have a wide shot, introduce them to hit one spot, and then you want that conversation once you establish that, you really want the character to stand still. You don't want them to move too much in that particular conversation. It's almost like now we all go to point A, and then quickly sometimes I shoot reverse, shot reverse, just wide, medium.
I get it.
And then, to be honest with you, sometimes you don't even do
well,
like,
that's
do
what I was
close
going to
up.
say. That's what I was going to say is like, so you do, say we do our line of dialogue in this setup.
Yeah.
Now, say you had time for another setup.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because like you could go wide. I don't know. Would you go wide to get the third? And then would you get like, say if I'm picking up a cup of coffee, would you get the cutaway of the cup of coffee? You know, it's I'm kind of curious in like the thought process.
But that thought, for example, we like in a room, we always start wide first. 2 cameras. You got me.
So you do vertical wide.
Well, I mean, obviously.
That's the thing that fucks me up sometimes is the idea of like shooting a wide vertical shot. It's like crazy to me.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to frame, but like, yeah, but you want to do wide shot, you have to have it. Like, so we've been told by clients so many times, hey, we do want a wide. We do. You have to do you have to be frontal. I remember the first couple ones we done. Sometimes because of location, and then because we rush on time, we did a lot of profile.
Yep.
Profile doesn't really work.
And you generally zoom lenses, right?
Oh, absolutely zoom lenses. Because I guess I know a lot of. Well, there's more nowadays. It's like they're shooting on Alexa cameras, and then they use like prime lenses and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, because the budget, because the speed we want, it's always those auto-focusing zoom lenses with FX3 and 6. That's our standard setup.
You know what's interesting in regards to like our conversation, I think the funny thing with LFS and being done is I'm noticing like the pace of conversation increases. Like I'm noticing even our conversation, we're chatting like a mile a minute. That is how we talk on a set, like a vertical drama set, or like on these low budget feature films. It's like everyone is so worried about the time.
Time is money, no?
And like you really are talking fast on these sets. Do you notice that, or do you have a slower kind of?
I listen. I'm trying to be like, hopefully in the future I'm gonna be slower when I talk, and I'll be very quiet on set. I remember, because I think also it's the passion. Like I'm always very passionate on set, you know, like when you're in the mood you really want to be loud.
I feel the same way. That's just so funny you say that.
I want to be quiet. I think when we were on set we're loud as fuck.
Yeah, I know. I think our energy is like kind of like
I can't listen. I want to be more quiet on set in the future.
I completely agree. Sometimes I feel like I'm always trying to get people like super like high, you know, kind of being a cheerleader a little bit. And I think actually to say less words in general is going to have a lot more impact.
I think being a director might be different. It depends on the actors you're working with. Yeah. I think for a DP role, it depends on personality. I think whatever works is the best. But personally, I think being a bit more calmer, being quieter, as long as you get a job done, is good.
It's going to create more impact.
Yeah, I think just I don't want to jump around on set and all that. I feel like it's a bit unprofessional as well. But to tie back to what you were saying, on verticals, I guess you talk fast because you move fast as well. Yeah,
that's what I noticed. Is it's like, and I'm noticing because like we weren't really. I don't think we were, even though
we were.
Were we?
we were
moving really, really fast.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Well, you know, then this is what I'll say. I feel like the communication is better. Like it isn't as in my like. I still feel frantic sometimes, but I feel a lot more in my pocket, even though we're moving super quick. But that's just my understanding just on this conversation we're having, because we really haven't been on set together in like quite a while. So I guess it's just my brain thinking back to like Write Film or something we did at school, and then kind of coming back around to it. So it's just an interesting little thing. So we were talking about vertical. We were talking about
the way we shoot it.
The way we shoot it. We talked about this idea of kind of what your second setup would be. I think you went off on a little bit of a conversation about like the types of frames that the client is looking for versus. So then my question is, Barbara has a question.
I have a question.
Yeah. What's the question?
You said with vertical dramas that you would want if it's a two characters, you introduce them and then you have to keep them in one place.
Yeah.
The blocking is like almost too strict.
Yeah.
Like I know that you're a camera and you're a cinematographer, but do you notice that it somehow is like almost more emotionally taxing on actors or more result based? Like how are the actors treated? Because performance is still important. But do you feel like they are more told just like stand there, do this without any freedom to kind of explore their character more? They're more like, does it feel more robotic? I know it sounds rude, but how does that?
I guess I try to imagine from an actor's perspective that definitely limits performance a little bit, but I think it's not that bad, because in this verticals there's a lot of static conversation pieces. It's just like, for example, they have like 3 pages of conversation in one spot. They're really not moving too much. I guess a director on a more creative project, I guess there's more blocking can be introduced, but for the purpose of getting the shots, we really try to limit the actors a little bit as well. It's like, if you were to be here, we want you to be here and finish this part of the conversation, then we're gonna give you the opportunity to move to the second spot and then trigger the next piece of conversation.
It almost feels like fast fashion in I'm sorry. Like too many vertical dramas out there.
Yeah, a lot of these things is really we see them move to a spot and then we have them standing or sitting and then finish in their lines. It's really hard for like obviously I did like sometimes we like especially early on we done this. Just that's the process. I gotta know exactly what your blocking is, so I can figure out the quickest way to get these things done. Because once I have the medium, once I have the wide, then we get to shoot inserts. Then we get to pick up important beats. Maybe we do extreme close up here and there. But I just need the time to do it. Like sometimes, for example, we were shooting in a dungeon, I remember, and then we kind of said the action will happen around this area, and then I got like 10 minutes. Okay, boom, boom, light is in, and then as the whole scene goes on, they keep moving and moving to a point I was like, listen, like we need to light this area as well because the blocking now has changed so much for the vertical. And then not saying we do that every single time, but once the opportunity arises, when there is a conversation, like these 3 pages, they don't have to move, let's do the easiest way. And it sounds really bad, but again, it's all for prioritizing coverage.
But also, I think, sure, like in a bubble, it sounds bad, or it sounds like you're limiting the actors. But also, it's just that the frame is like this. So if you're trying to capture a moving target with a frame that's just a quadrant of what you'd normally get horizontally, like there can't be that much movement,
and then especially
it's just going to take time.
Especially like 2 people conversation is quite easy. A lot of these verticals is like it's all the vertical scripts are quite similar in the way. There are always so many scenes where all the characters is in the same room together. It's always a wedding. There's always a funeral. There's always a ballroom dance party, and then you get like 10 different characters. Everyone has speaking parts. You really want to make sure you know where each other, you know where everyone is, and then like depends on the actual scene. Sometimes we have one camera follow this one person throughout. Let's run the first take, this 2 take, you follow him, you follow her. You get these 2 people's coverage out completely, and then you can move on to the next group. But then sometimes, again, this is like before we shoot, really got to talk to the director about blocking, and we lock it so I know what's coming. You separated them into 2 groups. You're looking for the 180 degrees line all the time. It's like, you guys stay on this side. Please don't, they relatively in this one position. And then we light for one side, and we get that one side done completely, and then we reverse. So simpler the blocking, more coverage, really. I think that's like, unfortunately, that's a trade-off, really.
I directed 2, and
how do you block them?
So the first one was such a mad dash, but I think what LFS taught me, and what I feel like gives me the edge, is that education at LFS, where it's that rehearsal. The rehearsal, like especially trying to shoot a little bit of film as well, like has helped me, because it's rehearsal first, then shoot. And so with the verticals, it's the same thing. And with these low budget features, it's like, the only way you're going to do this quickly is just what you're saying, and especially because I am not able to block this stuff ahead of time or rehearse outside of a Zoom call.
Sometimes you don't get
with
to
anybody.
Do that,
So the idea is that, I remember there was one on the second one I did. It was a actor spiking her drink on a sofa. So we see that, and then as she's going under, she hits him with a bottle. She's crawling to the exit. The bad guy is like chasing after her on the ground, and the good guy comes in and like saves the day and arrests the guy. Like the police come in, and it's like a whole thing. And we had not done no blocking for this, nothing. I didn't know what the hell.
Now you probably have less than an hour to shoot the whole thing. Yeah,
the whole thing. He's like, he falls down. We do a downward shot like this, like, and it was like, I remember like that was like really because there was no blocking for it. Like you have to just figure it out, and then the DP's looking, right? The DP's watching what you're planning, and I think it's generally like, Greg, that won't work. Like they'll pepper it in, but if they seem to think it's working, because I'm trying to do both, right? I'm trying to make sure in one half of the brain to make sure that it's deep shootable, and on the other half of the brain that it would make half sense to watch on screen, right?
I think that's kind of what Rory Chambers, you're saying, like it's a good practice. Like I think it's directing vertical drama is such a challenge for the director.
Yeah.
How do you gonna make? And then like you said, a lot of times you actually don't get to rehearse too much. You got like 20 people on set now, and then all of them need to be at one point in this room, and then they interact with each other. How do you find like what's the clip? I think
the police come in, and he comes in as well. So you have to establish that the police, and you have to establish that he's arresting the guy, bringing him up off the ground. That he comes down next to her and says, "Are you okay?" You know, it's like it's such a high intense scene. And at LFS, we don't have scenes like that. We don't do because that would be appear. Too over, too much. Imagine doing
There's
that.
no subtlety.
Well, it's funny because you think about maybe Spaceman, the film you DP'd in Term 5, which is a very special film for me as well. I sparked on it, and I remember,
you were in it at one point.
It was great. Yeah, I acted with Emily. Emily was in there. So it was like, but even that, which is, right, think about the story for the Spaceman, which is a boy who's a bit anxious and about self-conscious goes with his brother to a party and feels like he's an astronaut and then therefore becomes an astronaut, and he sees this girl he kind of likes, and he goes onto the roof, but we're depicting this really kind of fun young party in a studio, right? We built it from scratch. So that is a really different idea than what I just described for vertical drama, which is like this like spiking of drinks and like getting hit in the head with a bottle and police coming in. It's like two different types of drama.
Yeah, it's just the way you deal with them are very different. Like, for example, any of these short films, you really prepare, like you prepare into very detail, really. Like you pre-shoot the whole thing, you kind of visualize each shot, and then I guess that's like whatever blocking you want to do, we can always figure out a way, and we knew that beforehand. We know what shot we needed to do. But vertical is really about getting it. It sounds so bad to say, especially from a DP's perspective. No. It's like lighting even take a step back. Yeah. It's more about we need to make sure we see the characters' faces clearly. Exposure has to be correct. You can't be too contrasting, and then you have to get coverage from various different angles. And then to do that, I think it's such a challenge for the director. I think DP, well, I certainly do it. I try be quite involved in the blocking. Because the blocking makes sense. It really saves a lot of time.
Yeah. The key is watching the blocking and getting the camera and shooting it. Like it's got to be a fluid kind of process there. So I think it's helpful for one thing, but I'll be honest with you. I'll ask you the same question. Like I would love to get back to some type of pre-shooting type of thing. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there, and how much we got to but like. Yeah, that would be nice. Like, because even for like Silo and things like that, you must be observing a little bit. And those guys aren't. I mean, that pace is different, right? That pace isn't.
I think. Well, I mean, it's a very different. Like, it's almost hard to compare. Like Silo, I was on it as a spark.
Yeah.
And then I think I had a lot of fun. Really saw a lot of lights I wouldn't have the money to use or didn't even know. But they also move quite fast. But that's a very different reason because they're so prepared.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they're gonna do. It's all execution.
It's a different type.
Yeah, and then on vertical drama we are a lot less prepared, and then sometimes there's a lot of improvisation on set. There's so many brain running. On set, like we run
tired, lack of sleep, like potentially these things go over.
Yeah,
like.
I think it's hard to. I don't know what can we do to solve it. It's like vertical drama, because we understand we're making a product.
Yep.
It's a $5 product,
yes.
So that's how much. Like that's the end result. So there's not gonna be much more money. And then the way they make these vertical drama is not like they really prepared for a long time to bet on this one script for it to be successful. They can pump out these content so fast. They're making so many all the time, and then they're betting from the investment perspective is I invest in 20 of them. If one got hit, that was a good return.
Sure.
So a lot of these, I think these productions, maybe they get the green light less than a month before the shoot for a 120 pages script. Like we didn't go to that many location scale. We don't get to do tech recce. It's just a lot of improvisation. And then obviously director need to figure out a lot of blocking on set. The DP needs to be very involved. I think the more for later on. For the verticals, I only work with people who've done verticals before.
Yeah. Like, so you now, when you are approached for a vertical, you have some requests.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I have more requests. But I'm just saying, first of all, is the crew has to be like the crew I found. They have to done verticals before.
Yeah.
They got to understand the pacing.
Just makes your life easier.
Yeah, you got to understand what these things are. Because I feel like there is always that attitude is that we kind of look down on verticals a little bit. because obviously the content is. Well, I feel like you know what I mean. And then the way we're shooting, we're not really creating the best image possible. It's that we're telling a story in the shortest amount of time as possible. But I think the more we used to verticals, the more the crew used to I work.
It's such a new thing. It's a new thing
in the UK.
This specific type of in the UK potentially, but like. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's and maybe in the UK, I know in China and other places maybe it's been around for quite a bit longer. But yeah, it seems like something, at least in this country, like it's something that people are still getting their heads around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think UK market is the audience yet. Yep. I don't think anyone's in the UK are religiously. I know some people actually love to watch these things, but compared to China, America, Canada, or Brazil, I think that's one of the targeted country as well.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
This will be my last question before we get to just the short film, talking a little bit about how things are different, how things are the same. It's like a new project that's coming up. Are there any shots or scenes from any of these verticals that you thought, I kind of like this? This is kind of cool.
I think there are many shots.
Tell me one. Tell me one that you think about that you go, this was kind of cool.
No, that kind of tied to I think I do these verticals. Obviously, money is good. I'm so glad vertical happens. That helped me so much post-production.
Yeah.
Post-graduation.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then, but it's such a practice. You don't get to do super fancy lighting. You don't get to do a lot of the cool shots or whatever. It's a lot of time. It's about basic coverage. But because these verticals, I get to shoot in so many different environments. You know, we shoot a lot of cars, different houses. I can't believe how many mansions I've been to. Swimming pool, under the water. There's a lot of cool things. There's a lot of cool dungeons, all kinds of dungeons. A lot of sex scenes as well, intimacy scenes. You get to practice a lot, and you get to stuff. If the challenge is always for you to light so quickly for different environments, and sometimes you get to do a little bit fun things. I remember me and Rory, we shot it's meant to be a catwalk, and then you got models walking up and down the stage
with Max.
Max was the camera. Max was the camera operator. I think Max did a fantastic job as well. Max cutting. You get to play around a little bit, and then it's such a good practice for me on the fundamental things. How do you come into a new environment with 20 minutes and 3 lights? How do you make it cinematic as soon as possible? I think it's a keep like a basic fundamental practice. And then it's nice to have that. I'm quite grateful for that. If you threw me into an environment, I think I'll be able to quickly offer something out of it.
Which is very important.
It's very important. I think fundamentally it's obviously a very basic skill set you need to be really good at.
Yep.
But obviously you don't get to play with, I'm using similar lighting package all the time because that's what the budget allows.
Yep.
And it's hard for you to come up with something too creative. But fundamentally, you're getting that practice all the time. Sorry, I forgot your question.
No. You answered it perfectly. Then my question is, you said the catwalk scene. You told me a couple things about shots that you enjoyed. So I want to ask a 2-parter question that will I think wrap everything up. Tell me a little bit about this short film you're preparing with Emily Kirby. I'm interested in some of the difficulties. This is horizontal, believe it or not. We're back in horizontal. Yeah. And tell me about what you want to do. I want to know about what the goal is, where you want to go, and what you think maybe even these verticals and just all your training at LFS, where you want to go with all this stuff.
I think, just earlier I said about doing steadicam being sparking now, right? Being sparking. But then I realized just doing these things, make me realize what I really want to do. I think I'll stick with DP and really trying to make it happen because obviously money is important, and then hopefully I can be sustainable and then just live in London, being okay, doing what I have to do, don't have to get a part-time job. But still I realize the end goal is to be a cinematographer and shoot movies that will eventually be seen in the movie theaters. By this stage of my career, I just want to be able to shoot, being able to be in that DP role, to be creative. Doesn't matter the budget. I think doing something fun, I just, sometimes I can't allow myself to forget why did I do filmmaking in the first place. I love being on set. Oh, that's on the film on the desert, 3 months in the desert. I didn't learn anything too technical, but I really enjoy being on set with the crew.
Yeah.
It's a group of people with a common goal, and then you don't know them before, and then 3 months you spend time together, and then get the same thing done. I really love that part of the filmmaking. I forgot your question again.
We were just talking about.
I can't believe that.
Emily Kirby and her short film, and just like and kind of like you've kind of explained that second part of the question about what you want to do. You know?
Oh, I want to shoot something fun. I want to shoot something challenging, and then
Make
I
the
want
next Trainspotting.
I want to be
right?
I want to be creative with it. So it's nice. Like it's a passion. It's a graduation project. Obviously, there's no profit in this, but it's unlike vertical drama where you are completing a task.
Yeah.
This is I'm creating shots, I'm creating images with Emily. I get to test things, I get to be experimental. Like this is what I guess we're burning passion here. Yeah. Like, but this is what I love this thing for, you know.
Tell me a little bit about the story for Emily Kirby's film and what that's about.
Yeah, story is this. It's all happening around this 8-year-old boy who saw a dead fox on the street, and then death became such a concern for him, and then his mind spiraled out of everywhere for the fear of death. This carcass really triggers a lot of things for him. The death of his grandma, and then the potential death for his parents. It's just how death feels like for 8 years old, and that's kind of like what we're trying to get out of the kid, out of this movie.
And how long was the film going to be?
I think it's going to be around just pretty standard short film length. I think under 15 minutes. That's the goal for us.
And you were telling me a lot of shooting on the street. So what challenges? I want to hear a little bit about what you think will be a big challenge outside of, it sounds like there's budgetary constraints, this being a grad film.
There's always that. I think shooting wise, first of all, I never worked with 8 years old before.
Okay.
Apparently they're quite tiny. I don't even know. I can't even like accurately picture what an 8 years old look like. I think they're quite short as well. Like, well, that's good because sometimes you shoot someone who's 6'4", the camera doesn't always reach. So working with them is going to be a bit challenging, I imagine, because, for example, if I want them to hit certain spot, I don't know if they're going to be able to follow the blocking that precisely. I think that's one. And then obviously shooting on the street. We have a lot of shots as well. It's quite like a fast-paced film. Like we started off slow, but as death became more of a central point in the character's mind, things spiral, things go faster. He's in a panic mode. So we have a lot of shots on the street, and then it's really, again, how do we get enough shots in a limited amount of time? And then vertical teach me one thing as well. It's just like you really want to make sure your equipment is very suitable for your project.
Yep.
Like we're not gonna, like you're working with a kid. I just didn't want to bring out a big Alexa camera plus like a Trinity, or because we have a lot of moving shots up and down. And then we at the end we actually decided to shoot on the DJI Ronin 4D.
Yeah, cool.
Because it has the equivalent of the Sony Cine Alta function. You can separate the whole thing. All of a sudden the camera is so small, like a cup. Maybe that's less intimidating for the kid as well. Also, you get to move so fast. You can achieve, like we're trying to achieve Trinity type of shot.
Yeah.
Just with me on a boom pole, like you can attach, because it's so small, I can attach a boom pole on the camera itself. All of a sudden I can boom like 3 meters tall, or go underneath the car. They just offer possibilities and speed.
Cool. Well, I feel like I've got a really good picture of you, Zhanbo. I want to thank you for being on the United Filmmaker Podcast. And we're going to do another one. There's a lot to talk about. I want to do a vertical drama kind of like thing where we talk with some more people from it, maybe get groups together. And there's always like more to talk about, and it's kind of scrunching everything in. But we got a lot of good stuff, and I've been meaning to do this one for a while. So thank you.
No worries, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I would like to talk more, to be honest with you. Like, it's nice. Like, for example, you can get a whole panel of vertical drama people.
We could talk about so much stuff, because like I think there's so many. Right, we could just talk about cinematography. We could talk about one camera. You know what I mean? We could talk. There's so many. We did a whole setup for like a shot, like an idea for like a one scene of a vertical drama. You know what I mean? There's so many different little tests and discussions you can have that would make us better at doing what we do. So I think conversation is so important, because we go on these sets and just shoot forever and then don't really have like meaningful discussions about it, unfortunately, sometimes. So yeah, I really appreciate it, and we will do more of these for sure.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the United Film Podcast. We are a self-funded organization looking to broaden and diversify the filmmaking culture here in London. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. It is through our listeners that we gain recognition and are able to fund new initiatives with this podcast. Thank you.